Hey, Mr. C here, and for today's math lesson, we're going to do a quick review of the Pythagorean Theorem and give you some key skills so that next week we can practice a few things. Now, this is my first time, one of my first times doing a math lesson on video, so please bear with me. Then after, we'll put up like a little quiz, not like a test or anything, but just a way for you to check your understanding based on some of these important concepts in the video. So to get started with the Pythagorean theorem, you need to put together a lot of your skills that you've practiced before. So we're just going to quickly refresh a few things. So we need to remember a little bit about exponents to start off. So if you remember earlier this year, we covered exponents, and you may have covered exponents in previous grades. Something squared, or sorry, a number with an exponent will look like this. Now, in this situation, 3 is the base and 2 is your exponent. This does not mean 3 times 2. So remember that. That's the number one error students make. They always think it means 3 times 2. It does not mean 3 times 2. What does it mean? It means 3 times 3. So this is really important to remember if we're going to be working with the Pythagorean theorem. So it means 3 times 3. Similarly, if you had something like this, if you had that does not equal 5 times 2. It is not 10. It equals 5 times 5. So that's something that you need to remember. You also need to remember square roots. That's another important skill that you need to remember. We covered that over a couple days in the classroom, and it is a grade 8 outcome, so we may have focused on it with the grade 8s a little bit more. But something like this, here's an example. Square root of 36, and this is called the radical symbol. Square root of 36 is 6 because 6 times 6 equals 36. Square root of 25 is equal to 5 because 5 times 5 equals 25. Now, you can find the square root of a number using a calculator, or if it's a perfect square like this, it's pretty easy to figure out. Now, you can start to see the connection between a number being squared and the square root. So hopefully that is clear to you. Now, the other thing you need to know, and there's a lot you need to know to solve this or to use the Pythagorean theorem, is we need to remember a little bit about triangles as well. So in previous grades, probably grade 6 or maybe other grades, you learned about angles, you learned about different types of triangles. So we'll draw a triangle here for you. Now, in this type of triangle, if you see a symbol like that, that means that this angle here is 90 degrees. That symbol there. So that's the symbol. You can sometimes see that in squares or rectangles, but in triangle or anywhere really in geometry, it just means that angle here on the inside is 90 degrees. This type of triangle is called a right triangle. Now, the right triangle means it's a triangle that has 90 degrees. There are other types of triangles without 90 degrees, of course. A triangle, that looks kind of like that. Oh, maybe I don't know. Triangles that look a little funny like that. Not a right triangle. This here, though, is a right triangle. Why is this important? It's because this side here is really important for the Pythagorean theorem. This side, opposite the right angle, is going to be the longest side of the triangle, and it has a special name. That special name is, I'll spell it out here for you, is the hypotenuse. Now, generally speaking, what a hypotenuse is it's the longest side of a triangle, or it is opposite the 90 degrees. So what does the Pythagorean theorem let you do? Or what does it allow you to do? Well, it allows you to do something pretty interesting. So we'll flip over, we'll get a fresh sheet of paper here. Okay, got a fresh sheet of paper here. Made a little bit of a mistake, so you'll see a little edit in the video. So what does the Pythagorean theorem allow you to do? Well, it allows you to figure out the unknown measure of a side of a triangle. So let's say, for example, we draw another right triangle. We're going to draw that right triangle again. And let's take a look at, well, sorry, not take a look at anything. Let's put a right angle there. It's a right angle triangle. And let's pretend that this side is 3 centimeters. Let's pretend that this side is 4 centimeters. And let's pretend we don't know what that side is. So the Pythagorean theorem allows us to find the length of an unknown side of a triangle if you know the other two sides. So that's pretty cool, and that's going to be a foundational skill for a lot of future things in math. So again, it allows you to find the side or the unknown measure of a side of a triangle. So if we call this side A, we call this side B, and the hypotenuse, the longest side, is always C, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out the length of this side. So for example, this is the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And if we take side A, which is 3, we put it into our equation, and we take side B, which is 4, and we square that, and we leave this as the unknown. So side C, the hypotenuse, is the side we're trying to figure out. So we don't do anything there. We just write C squared. Now, remember, this is equal to 3 times 3, so it's going to be worth 9. 4 squared is going to be equal to 16 because it's 4 times 4. And our C squared is still the side we don't know. Similar to solving equations earlier in the year, we add these two together, of course. 9 plus 16 equals 25, equal to C squared. Now, 25 is not the length of the unknown side. That doesn't really make sense. If this side was 3 centimeters long and this side was 4 centimeters long, it wouldn't make sense if this side was 25. That would be way too long. So we sort of have to undo this operation on both sides. Now the way to do that is to take the square root of both sides. So we're going to take the square root of that side, square root of that side, and the square root and the number C squared sort of cancel each other out. So you're left with C on this side. Here, you take the square root of 25, and if you remember from earlier in the video, the square root of 25 is going to be 5. So that means we figured out the measure of the unknown side of the triangle using the Pythagorean theorem, to figure out the length of this side, the length of side C. So the length of side C is 5. So again, what the Pythagorean theorem lets you do is it lets you figure out the measure of an unknown side of a triangle if you know the other two sides. It's simple if you're figuring out the hypotenuse. You follow these steps here, and in the future if we know the hypotenuse and we know one other side, we can figure out a side that's missing. Now, if this video has been tough to follow, or there's a lot of information here, you can watch it again. That's the beauty of video. Look for a short quiz just to see if you're kind of following along and understanding. It's not a test. It's just a way for me to see that you've been watching the video, and that some of these key things you can remember. So again, Pythagorean theorem. Some things you need to remember. You need to remember what these mean, these exponents, and how to square a number. So again, this does not mean 3 times 2. It means 3 times 3. This means 5 times 5. It does not mean 5 times 2. I should just add this as well. So these are all equal. You have to remember square roots. So the square root of a perfect square is easy to find. So the square root of 16, 25, 36, those are easy to find, because you just think, what two same numbers multiply to equal that number. And the other key term you need to remember from today is the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is the longest side of a triangle, and in a right triangle with 90 degrees, it is the side that is opposite, and it's the longest side of the triangle. So that'll be in there in your quiz today. So what is the hypotenuse? It is the longest side of a triangle opposite of 90 degrees. So again, if it helps you, watch this video a couple times. Hopefully it works out for you. Answer the multiple choice questions in the short quiz, and review if you need to, and you'll look forward to some specific questions that you have to work on next week. Thank you. Bye.